Hello guys, welcome back to Mr. Cloudbook channel. Today is the day 53 of the Kubernetes masterclass, and in this video we are going to see about the service accounts in the Kubernetes in a detailed way, and we will go with a simple understanding of the concept of the service accounts and why we need it and all, and we will see the simple demo as well. What is a service account? First of all, service accounts works like a super ID badge for your applications, also called the robots or the pods in the Kubernetes. This ID badge identifies the pod and allows it to do a certain tasks in the cluster. So Kubernetes has a two types of accounts. So one is user account and other one is the service accounts. User accounts, these are for the humans to log into the Kubernetes. Okay. So what is we have? We have the Kubernetes cluster. We will use the user accounts to log into your cluster to get the data and everything. So service accounts, these are for applications or the robots running inside the Kubernetes. These are for the pods or the applications that are running inside your cluster. So service accounts allow pod or the apps to securely talk to the Kubernetes API and take a specific action without giving them to a much of power. Okay. Imagine assigning a permission to a only let robots to play with a certain parts of your playground. So let's start it from the scratch. Okay. So how service accounts works when you create a pod and the default service account and how it will work and how to create the service account and how to use the roles and role bindings and cluster rules with this particular service account. And we will talk about the real-time example as well. Okay. What happens when you don't create a service account? Okay. When a pod is created and you don't assign a custom service account, Kubernetes will automatically use the default service account. Okay. By default, we have one of the service account that is comes when you create the cluster, that is default service account. Okay, when you never specify any kind of service account, Kubernetes will automatically use the default service account for your particular pod in the same namespace. Okay, by default we use the default namespace and it will use the default service account. What is the default service account? So automatically used and it is very have a limited permissions. Okay, so the pod is authenticated using the default badge, but it does not have a special powers, no write or admin permissions. This makes things safe but restrictive. So imagine you there is a giant playground. So I have the big playground here and many robots or applications are running around it and each robot wants to do something. Okay, so I have some pods, applications are running. So each pod want to do something or each robot want to do something. So I have different robots there. So what happens? The first robot will collect the toys. So we will talk about this. So first one will collect the toys and second one will build the sand castles in my playground. Okay. So three robots I have and first will only collect the toys and this second one will build the particular sand castles in your sand. Okay, this is the playground. So later we will talk about as the in Kubernetes way as well. So first understand in the simple playground strategy. So and third one, talk to the other robots. So 1, 2 and 3. So we have the three robots, right? Now here is the thing. The playground has the safety rules. It won't just let any robot to do whatever they want. Okay. So here there is another robot is there outside. Okay. So this doesn't allow into your particular playground because each robot has to prove who they are and what they are allowed to do. They need to identify them with the identity code or that tells that playground that what actions they are allowed to take, and this identity code is called as the service account. Okay, so this guy is inside my park, right? This particular robot and this one. So these three can do whatever they want. No, because only first pod can only collect the toys, and the second point only can build the sand castles, and third particular robot will only talk with the other robots, nothing else. So the each one have their each own action. Okay, these are identity. So they have some kind of identity. So what they have to do? So this particular identity code is called the service account. Okay. Robots aren't kids. Okay. Now here is the difference. In a playground full of kids, human users is there and there is a main administrator cluster is there. Okay, that the Kubernetes can give the specific permissions to each kid because they have all names and faces. Okay, because already explained we have two kinds of users, right? User specific accounts and service specific accounts. So in Kubernetes, we can use user specific and service account specific. Okay, so we will give the users access to specific permissions, right? Yesterday we created the roles and role binding. But here, for this particular robot, we will create the simple service account. But robots are not like the kids, right? Not like the users. Robots don't have the spaces. How can the Kubernetes identify and trust them? Okay, that's where the service accounts come in, and all robots, all particular service accounts are given a service account name and their robot ID badge. And that badge tells the playground what the robot can do and what cannot do. Okay, so user can do whatever he want because we are creating the roles and role bindings, but this is also service account we are creating for the robots. Okay, for the pods. Why they need in the ID badges? Okay, the playground is a Kubernetes very strict to keep everyone safe. What if bad robot sneaks into the playground and starts breaking the toys or knocking over the towers or preventing the other applications to work, right? So an ID badge, which is a service account, so that they have belong here. Okay, so this particular guy has one service account badge, so see, it can come inside that particular one, I mean particular cluster, and see what permissions it have. So it can do only that kind of things. Okay, like I have the access to collect the all the pods. I can see the pods. I can go into the pod, like exec into the pod, like that. A list of rules are roles and permissions that what they are allowed to do. So we have to give the service account and add the some permissions also. Okay, how does it work? ID badge. Okay, this is the service account. It's like wearing a name tag that tells the playground, hi, I am a robot A, I am robot B, I am robot C. Like that, we will create the IDs for that particular each service account, and we will give the permissions. Kubernetes looks at the badge and checks what that particular robot will do. Like it will build the things, it will create the things, or it will exec into that particular pod, or it will go into the particular secrets or config maps, like that. So it will play the certain ads, or it will help with the another pods, like that. So if the ID badge does not allow the robot to do something, the Kubernetes says, sorry, you can't do that, and it will block the action. Okay, if we don't provide particular action or permission to it, so it will Kubernetes automatically will block it. So it's very helpful. The default ID badge. Okay, so when a robot comes into the playground without asking for the specific badge, means Kubernetes will give it as the default badge. Okay, this badge has almost no permission because Kubernetes doesn't want robot accidentally do something they are not supposed to do. So whenever you create a pod, okay, so I created a pod on my Kubernetes cluster. What it will do, the Kubernetes will by default provide the default service account for us, our pod. Okay, default ID it will provide. So because this doesn't have any particular permissions, so it won't do anything. Okay, the particular robot or bot or particular pod doesn't do anything, like something doesn't have any permissions kind of thing. Okay, so where the custom badges come, sometimes you need to your particular robots or your pods to do these specific tasks, like managing your config maps or communicating between the pods or creating the deployments. At that time, for that particular kind of task, you can make a custom service account, a more powerful badge that gives the robot the exact permission they need to do. Okay, why are the service accounts are important? Safety first, they make sure particular pods can do what they are supposed to do, or the robots what they supposed to do, order in a playground. So you can control how the particular service account behave and which areas of the playground they can visit, and no chaos, right? Accountability. If something goes wrong, Kubernetes knows which service account caused the issue by checking their check-in service account easily. In a simpler terms, a service account is like a special robot badge that helps the playground Kubernetes identify robots and control what they are allowed to do without this badge. The robots can play or talk on the other robots safely. So first of all, we will see simple example as well. Default service account, which gets the default pod. Okay, so what happens when you create a simple pod? I already explained there here, right? So we will get one simple default service account. Let's see the example as well. Okay, so if you go to the here, first of all, let's see for the kubernetes.io and search for service accounts. So service account, you can read it from here itself. So a service account is a type of non-human account. See, it's like a robot account that in Kubernetes provides that a distinct identity in a Kubernetes cluster, application pods, system components, and entities inside and outside the cluster can use the specific service account's credential to identify as the service account. So there are different ways here. You can see that service account exit as the service accounts objects in the API server level are having the specific properties, which is namespace, lightweight, and portable. And you can read it from here itself. And default service account. So by default, we have the service account. If you go to the your cluster and if you provide kubectl get SCA in short form, and this is the default service account you have. Okay. That is what he is talking about. When you create a cluster, Kubernetes automatically create a service account object named default for every namespace in your cluster. The default service account in each namespace get no permission default other than that default API discovery permissions. Okay. So use cases, you can read it from here itself. How to use the service accounts, that is up to you. Read it from here. So try to read more and understand it from here itself. And if you want to create a service account, you can give the name and which namespace you want. Okay. And you can see that. So we are creating a service account, API version, kind, metadata. These are all simple, and we are not providing anything here. You see, annotations. We are enforcing the mountable secrets. Yes, true. So you can give the name for your service account, like whatever the name you want, and the namespace. So if you want to give the namespace, that is up to you. So you can just create a sample service account, which is on direct default namespace as well. And if I create a pod, okay, kubectl create a run pod directly, run nginx hyphen image equals to nginx, enter. So it's created. And if you see kubectl get pods, see it's creating. Okay, let's describe it. Kubectl describe pod and enter nginx. And if you go a little bit up, and we have the service account, see, which is using the default one, right? So this doesn't have full access. So every time whenever you create a simple pod, if you don't provide a service account name, so it will lose the default service account. Okay. So and if you want to create a simple service account, you can just write a simple command, that is this one, kubectl create service account, give the name as Ajay, enter. And you can see that service account Ajay is created. So and simple format you can give like this. Okay, kubectl create SCA. So this is also one simple command. Okay, short form. And if you see k get SCA Ajay and Ram, it's created, right? Simple one. And if you see here k create SCA cloud book hyphen dry run equals to client hyphen o ml, enter. And you can see that simple API version, kind, metadata, and creation stamp, and the name is cloud book. So we can provide anything. So once that is created, we can edit, we can do some changes, right? So that is up to us. And there is nothing here, but we can manage simple service account. So how we can attach it to the particular different one? Okay. So I created this one, right? kubectl get SA. So Ajay I created. So I want to create a service account, add a custom service account to my pod. So I created a simple service account now. Ajay is the one service account. So what if I add, okay, kubectl create, run nginx 2 hyphen image equals to nginx hyphen dry run equals to client hyphen oml 1.yml. Okay. So by default, it will use the simple default account, right? If you apply it, but I want my personal account, service account that I created now. So in the spec field, you have to add one more field called service account name, come out of it, and k apply hyphen f 1.yml. So it's created. K get pods. See, this is running now. And if you describe, it will use my service account. So which is not default one. And you can see that service account which is using the Ajay. Okay. So I created the service account Ajay, that is fine, right? So how I can add some simple role, okay, special permissions to the particular service account. So I have the Ajay service account is there, but doesn't have any permissions. Okay. So I will create a simple role using the simple command, that is up to us, or we can use something called from here itself. Yesterday I didn't show it, right? Let's use it from here. So roles, enter, our back authorization, and if you see here, kubectl create role. So this is the simple command for pods, okay? Or you can create a simple YAML format also. Let me copy it, and sorry, here, and we will use the examples from here itself. On top you will get some example for the role based access control, okay, role and role binding. And if you see here, this is cluster role and this is the role for complete access. Okay, this is the API group and everything. I will just use this default one. Okay, what I'll do, I'll copy this and I'll come here and va 2.yml, so simple format, and config map. Instead of resources, what we will do is we will give access for deployments. Okay, so sorry, insert mode, and let's delete this, and deployments. So we don't need this, delete it. So API group we have to provide because deployments belongs to apps, right? So insert mode and apps. So config map updater. So I can change it to deploy app data. The role namespace which is using default, that is fine, and role binding. So this is the simple role which can create the update and get. Okay, simple role I'm using. So k apply hyphen f 2.yml. So I created the role and I will bind this particular role to the service account. Okay, yesterday we saw the this one, right? So this is a particular role account. If you go down, this is a cluster role and cluster role. This is also cluster role. And if you go up, we have some commands called role building. Okay, so copy this particular thing and come here. So vi 3.yml, and what is the name? Deploy updater is the name for my role. Okay, come here and paste it, and namespace we use it the default, make it default. So what is the name? Okay, this we can make it as simple role binding, like that, deployment role binding, deploy rp role binding. So here in the subject field, kind, instead of user, what we have to use? We have to use the service account. So if we want to give the service account specific permission, you have to use this one. Okay, so what is the name for your service account? Ajay. Okay, so API group doesn't need it, and I will delete this for now. And role reference, we have to provide the role reference definitely. Go to insert mode, and I will create in which namespace we created, namespace default. We have to tell service account where it's created, default, and cluster role we have to tell the role. Okay, this is okay, this is fine. Okay, I will insert mode, and deploy reader is my role binding. Okay, come out of it, and you can say that deploy updater. Okay, sorry, use that one. Proper name you have to use. Okay, role reference. So you created the role, but you are not using proper name, means it will not attach. So use the proper one, deploy updater. So that particular role we'll use this particular role binding. Okay, kubectl apply -f 3.yml. Okay, it's created. What I will do, I will clear the screen and I will create a simple deployment using the auth Kenai service account. Using the service account, I am going to create the deployment. Create, I will check first of all it will I'm able to create or not. Deployment hyphen namespace. Which namespace we are using? Default hyphen as equals to system. We are using the service account, right? So let's use service account. What is the namespace? That is default. And what is the name? Ajay. Okay, deploy updater is not found. Okay, cluster role is not found. Okay, sorry. So we have to use the role here. So we created the role, not cluster role, right? Client. That is the issue. So copy it. kubectl apply -f 3.yml, enter. Okay, let's delete that. kubectl delete -f. First of all, let's delete it. Okay, apply again. It's created. And let's try to provide again. kubectl auth can I create deployments using? No. See, we are not able to create the account using this particular deployments. That is fine. So why we are not able to create? Cat 2.yml. So we gave the deployments to update and get. Okay. So what I will do is I will edit this 2.yml. So what I will do, I will add create. Okay, for my service account, I'm adding one more role, that is create, and come out of it. Okay, apply -f 2.yml. Okay, it's configured. So last time what happened with the service account, you can see that as system service account default, what is my service account name? Ajay. So I'm using it. So I don't have access last time. See, I have the update and get for my deployments, right? So if I see here, go to up arrow, instead of create, I will use the get. Let's see what it will give the answer. Okay, get, enter. See, I'm able to get the details because I have the permission to get the deployments using the service account. I added one more permission right now. Let's see. So I can create the deployments or not. See, now I am able to create the permission using my service account. So how I created the role and added the permission with update, get, and so create. So this is how you have to attach the role and role binding to your service account. Okay, cat 3.yml, and you can see that you have to provide service account here. User service account, like that it will be different. You have to add the proper way of doing the things. Okay, so this is how you have to apply this particular role to service account. Okay, it will create and it will do this one. So if you create a cluster role, it will give the cluster role access as well. Okay, cluster role and cluster role binding. So it will be same and we have to do that one. Okay. So final repub, by default, pods get the default service account with limited permission. You can create a custom service account for the app that need a specific permission. User use the role and role bindings to grant the namespace level permission. Use the cluster role and cluster role binding for the cluster provide wide permission. Okay, so you can check that as well using the auth can. Okay, this is all about the service accounts. I hope you understand this video, and thanks for watching the video and keep on supporting to Mr. Cloudbook channel.